Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are coming to you live right here on this Monday night. We are July 1st. We made it through another month. We're starting again July 1st right here from Lubbock, Texas, the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios. And we're on all of our social media pages, the Rock Health and Wellness Centers on Facebook, Dr. Jason Clemmons on X, and at Health from the Rock on YouTube. We're on all those channels. We're on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM, Lubbock Christian Nation. We are streaming on 987radio.com, and we are on the Live 365 app. So if you want us, you can have us, because we are out there for the whole gigantic world to see, to talk about health and wellness. And that's what we do on this show. We talk about health and wellness. Welcome. If you're new to the show, you can go all the way back to September 1st of last year, and we can and you can check out, I don't know how many shows. I think we got 80 something shows on the internet now. I think that's what it says. Let me look that up. That'd be good. That'd be a good piece of information right there, just to see what we got. So I think I could do that on the YouTube channel. Let me see. See where we are. It says 187 videos. Let's see. It says 187 videos, and some of them are actually like real live stuff. So, yeah, maybe we've been at it for that long. I guess there's like 30, it's like 20 times 10 is 200. Yeah, we're probably there. So, if you want to know what I really believe, you can just go back and watch all these shows, because that's what I do. That's what I do with people when I'm studying them. I go back and I try to watch as much content as I can on them. And, if they say the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, they truly believe that that's the truth. Like, they're actually telling you what they believe as the truth. And I think that's a cool way to kind of determine what's going on with someone. So you can see what's happening with them. And that's what's going on with us too here. So that's what we do. If you're new to the show, go back and check us out. For the first several Wednesdays, starting September 1st, we did a bunch of book reviews. So we need to get back to doing that. And I got a whole stack of books that I really want to share with you guys that I've had new since we started. So I'm really hoping that I could get that. We're solid busy. We're solid busy. I think I had I just had like a little bit of I don't know, maybe I think 4 or 5 minutes for lunch today, and then after lunch, from 6 a.m. this morning till right now, it's been solid busy, which is fabulous, right? That's what we want it to be. We want it to be solid busy, but there was sometimes I don't get to those book reviews, is what I'm saying. So, hey, I had a great weekend, and I wanted to share it with you guys. I went to a wedding in College Station, Texas. And for those of you who don't know where College Station, Texas is, it's kind of a south central Texas. It's not too far from Houston, about 90 miles, I think, from Houston, about 60 miles from the Woodlands down there. So you're getting pretty close to the south of Texas. And it's the home of the Texas Aggies, Texas A&M University and the Texas Aggies. And I've spent a lifetime watching the Texas Aggies. I've spent part of my lifetime competing against the Texas Aggies. Had some good days and some bad days against those guys, but overall have always had somewhat of a real honest, genuine appreciation for their tradition. And sometimes it's unexplainable. I think there was a sign in front of the hotel. We stayed at the Texas A&M Conference Center, Hotel and Conference Center, which is right across the street. I mean, like a little bitty street from Kyle Field, their football stadium. And that is a massive, that's a massive place right there. That's where George Strait set the all-time record a couple weeks ago. He had a concert inside that stadium and had 110,000 people at that concert. It's the largest concert in the history of America, and um, if any kind, of any music concert. So, of course, King George got to do that, and he was big enough to pull that off. But that was a big building right there. But there's a sign out there in front of us. It says, "From the outside looking in, it's uh, you can't understand it, and from the inside looking out, you can't really explain it." And that's kind of what the Aggies are all about. It was kind of an interesting it was an interesting weekend. It was great to go down there. I really did enjoy it. But Leslie and I got up on Saturday morning and we spent it was 70 minutes. We walked 3.6 miles just through the campus. We just walked all around and looked at all the buildings and the trees and the big drill field that they have. You know, Texas A&M has the core. They were founded basically with the core, from what I could tell, and the history that I read about it. Um, it was just really refreshing to me to go on a campus that had constant buildings and plaques, and the whole culture was leadership and integrity and honesty and discipline, and all of those things that, as an athlete, you got pounded into your head all the time. As a Clemmons person, my dad was that way, like just getting us. It was about honesty and integrity. It was just, it was a throwback time. It was the '80s, kind of like, it was just, it was that it was all of the principles basically that I was raised on, and a lot of people that I know was raised on, and a lot of people my age and older generation was raised on. And and college campuses today have gotten so liberal and so crazy, and there's all kinds of crap going on college campuses, and there may be a lot of that stuff goes on Texas A&M campus as well. But it was super cool because they must have been right in between sessions, and their first summer session, and they got 77,000 students at A&M. It's the second largest enrollment in the United States, behind Arizona State, was what I found out. And um and they were, and it was just, to me, it was just so refreshing. It was so nice to know that there's still a place where honesty and integrity and discipline and self-control and self-sacrifice and self-service and all those things that go along with it, there's a place out there where that actually still exists. Now, I'm not under some illusion that there's not a they're saying at the hotel was howdy. So you can kind of tell. And I've met a lot of Aggies, and so there's a certain amount of redneck culture that goes along with that whole thing too. So, I get the jokes and all that stuff, but I tell you, I had a great weekend. I had a great weekend driving down there. Anytime you drive through Texas and you're heading away from Lubbock, you actually get scenery. So trees and hills and grass and all that stuff. Leslie and I went together. We had a great weekend. It was really nice. It was really nice. The wedding was great. The kids were great at the wedding. And inside the wedding venue, it was the Equine Center. They had my cousin's daughter got married, which I know she's my cousin too in some form or fashion. But and she married a guy who is the director of some of the cavalry part of their equine program there at Texas A&M, and good kid seems like. But they had their reception in the Equine Center, which was a pretty fancy place actually. And there's a big reception hall type of thing in there, and um, just up on the wall inside the reception hall, there was like integrity and discipline and something else, like toughness. I don't know what. And I just thought to myself, what an interesting place to have that written on the wall, like in the conference center at the Equine building. I mean, it was just It was nice. It was really nice to see that there's places that are teaching young kids, hey, to have some integrity, to have some discipline, to have some self control, to have some service to other people. And I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed the whole trip. Such an impressive place. Um, and I told Leslie, I said, well, maybe I should drive to Austin and spend a weekend in Austin. Maybe I'll change my opinion of Orange. And then I thought about that for about 8 seconds, and I was like, nah, never mind. I don't think I'll change my opinion of Orange. And so we'll just leave that as it is. But I had a great time. I really appreciate my cousin inviting me to the wedding. I appreciated going. It was good to visit with my uncle and aunt and see my cousins there and get to go on that trip. It was good to have the opportunity to get on the road. Tomorrow is 27 months, 27 months without a piece of bread, 27 months without a Reese's peanut butter cup or Blizzard or any of that stuff. And so you 100% could do it. You 100% can travel and go on the road and make a fantastic weekend. You could get up and walk 3 miles, 3.6 miles on Saturday morning. And I think we did, I want to say, I think Leslie tracked it. I think we did 14,000 steps or something, which I don't really know what that means, to tell you the honest truth, because I don't have any frame of reference to tell you how many steps or what, as compared to how many steps I walked when I was 20. I don't really know, but um, that we did a lot of walking. We um, controlled our food intake. We didn't do any cheating on the deal. There's no eating in moderation. I don't buy that. I'm not one of those people that buys that at all. People say that all the time, and I think it's hogwash. I think if you really break it down, it's complete hogwash. And so all those we've heard it our whole lives. People want to say it. I know people want to say it all the time. Everything in moderation. Don't agree with it. I'm one of those people that don't agree with that, and I think that's hogwash. Sugar is bad for your intestines. It's bad for the way that you function. And what was really interesting is when I went to that reception, like the amount of alcohol at that reception and the amount of chips and salsa and the cake and all of the stuff that was there, but mainly the alcohol. And it's really interesting how so many people, and I know a lot of you guys out there that are that way, so many people have no objection whatsoever, that there's not even a thought to what that's doing to their body. They don't care one bit in the moment of what those drinks are doing to their body. And it's so incongruent with a lot of the other things that we do in life. And I just had iced tea, got me some stevia, took it with me. We had an omelet for breakfast. It was an omelet with a salad. It was kind of interesting. Kind of had some lettuce on the table, and it came with a piece of toast that had some sort of butter on it. Of course, we didn't touch the toast, but we had the omelet, we had the salad, and then there was chicken fajitas for supper. So I just had the chicken and the meat and the beef and the beans, and that was all I ate for supper. Didn't eat anything else, and we stopped and got a bunless hamburger on the way with some sweet potato fries. It was totally great. You could totally do it. You don't need to toxify yourself to have a good time. You could go out there and have a good time. You can have a fabulous trip. You can spend time with your wife. You can go out there and make memories and really enjoy life and still do it healthy if you want to. So I'm just going to encourage you to do that, and just tell you how much I enjoyed that trip down there. Um, you know, I'm not going to trade them for the Red Raiders, but at least I might have a fond memory of hanging out in Aggieland for a weekend. Okay, so last week we really got into this article that it was a pretty in-depth article about the vagus nerve that we got out of the Journal of Clinical Medicine. And the vagus nerve can predict and possibly modulate non-communicable chronic diseases introduced introducing a neuroimmunological paradigm to public health. And we broke that down. So if you didn't see that last week, you might want to go back and check those last two shows. We didn't do a Friday show because I was out of town, but the Thursday and the Wednesday show that we did were pretty good shows, I think, on talking about the vagus nerve. And you'll hear a lot of it. If you're interested in talking about health, then you'll hear a lot about the vagus nerve these days because um, there is, I'm going to do a mic check right here. Hang on right there because it doesn't seem like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yep. 1, 2, 3. All right. I'm getting some weird feedback with my mic system, but okay. If you're studying health, let me make sure it's coming through. I'm getting some weird. Yep. Okay. Never mind. We're good. All right. If you're studying health and you start to get some knowledge about this gut brain axis that's going on, and you go back and listen to, um, our Diego Borrega that we listened to from Duke University, or you go back and listen to Charles Zucker from Cornell University, and you start to learn about those studies done that where they start to learn and they figured out the neuropod intestinal cells, right, and the vagus nerve firing back. That's the reason you guys know it. That's the reason that I stopped the sugar was because of the possibility of the virus being in my gut using my vagus nerve to tell my brain to feed me more sugar. That the hijacking of the gut microbiome, stealing that, um, using the vagus nerve to fire into the brain, and then getting the brain to eat carbs when you don't want them. And now it's all of a sudden you get it's literally like being hijacked. I mean, it's like being kidnapped. It's like being kidnapped by the microbiome because we've let those crackhead bacteria get so big that we've caused ourselves some serious problems. And what we talked about last week, and what this article was very in depth about, was about the um, the several things that um, they felt like cardiovascular diseases, cancers, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD) share three important contributing factors, and that when one of them was excessive sympathetic nervous system activity. So, this excessive sympathetic nervous system activity is this idea of the brain firing and the stress response that's going on over there in the right side of the brain. The up and to the right, over to the left stress response, and the right side driving off of adrenaline, being the sympathetic nervous system, causing the fight or flight response. And what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you specifically? Okay? Let me show you what one of the things it does mean to you. In this particular case, let's just say that when we did our physical exam on this person, that we found out that that person's left hemisphere was functioning in a deficient way. What When I talk about all this stuff, I know you really would like to know, what does it mean? Like, so what? I'm guessing that's what you'd like for it to mean. Well, one thing that happens, one thing that could happen whenever you have decreased left side brain, okay? One thing that you can say to yourself is, I may have a deficiency in dopamine on that left hemisphere. Right? I could have that. I could have a deficiency in regular dopamine levels. And that would mean that you would be searching in the external world for sugar or alcohol or pornography or you'd be staring at Instagram for hours and hours and hours. All those things, those could be low dopamine activities that are happening in your left brain. But but typically, what happens is when the left hemisphere drops in activity, you will get a left side tilt to the way that your head fits. So your occiput setting on your atlas, if that's your first vertebra and your occiput's tilted, it will ride up on that one side. On that, in this particular case, it will ride up on that right side, and you'll get a head tilt. So one of the things that you'll do is you'll try to balance that head tilt by counterbalancing and getting your eyeballs back on the horizon. And it's very common to have suboccipital headaches and neck spasm pain whenever that's going on. And what we will always understand, what we all only care about, the only thing we really care about is we care about the neck pain and the headache that goes along with it. And we'll go to all kinds of lengths to get rid of that neck pain and headache. But we won't understand the mechanism that's going on behind it and why it's so important to, hey, look, if your head's tilted and your left hemisphere's down, number one, you're going to be looking for sugar and alcohol. Number two, you're going to have a headache and you're going to have some sort of neck spasm that's going along. And you know what you'll say? You'll say, Doc, I think I slept wrong last night. You'll say, I think my chair at work is killing me. I spent too much time on the computer. I don't really know what happened, but man, my neck sure hurts, right? But you'll never think, well, maybe my brain isn't firing properly. And so let's keep going. Left side brain, decreased dopamine, increased need for sugar. Increased need for sugar is going to make us eat sugar. So here comes neuropathy, here comes diabetes, and then here comes neuropathy, and then here comes metformin. I'm telling you, the further I go into this deal, the more I believe metformin is garbage. It's absolutely garbage. So if you're on metformin for your type 2 diabetes, you're destroying the mitochondria in your liver, and that's how your blood sugar is staying low. So that's not the solution. That is not the health solution to solving your problem. So now we got all this stuff that goes along with that, right? We got all that bad stuff. Now we've got a headache going on. Okay, what we're also going to get in the lumbar spine is we're going to get a tightening of the psoas muscle in the lumbar spine, which is going to cause us to have a curvature of the lumbar spine to the left side. We're going to have a curvature of that lumbar spine to the left side. Now, what are you going to get? You're going to get low back pain problems and all of the low back pain problems that are associated with it. Okay, we've got disc problems. That's some of the things that are going on. When you have disc problems, you will have some sort of radiating pain that comes around the front of your thigh. You will have some sort of pain that goes down on the inside lower part of your leg, below your knee. You'll have some sort of pain that comes on the outside of the lower part of your leg to your knee. You'll start getting pain into your foot and cramps into your foot. That's lumbar disc type problems. You'll have localized low back pain that goes along with that. You'll have tight muscles on one side versus the other. You'll have a counterbalancing effect that goes on, so your muscles will get tight. You'll have less flexibility in things that are going on with that left side. That's just at the psoas, and because, and it's PSOAS, psoas, and that psoas muscle is not being inhibited by that weak left cortex, and so now we've got sugar handling problems. We've got focus. There's another thing that we've got decreased focused attention. We've got neck and possible headache issues going on. Now we've got lumbar spine issues going on. And let's keep going, because we're going to have hamstring and we're going to have calf, and you're going to say, I got Achilles problems, or I got plantar fasciitis on that left foot. I've got tight hamstrings, which might give me meniscus problems on that left knee. So I can have a knee problem. I can have a foot problem that are all firing back and all lead themselves back to that same mechanism. You see where I'm going with the idea that it's not just about it's not just neurology. Even though it is, but we're talking about cardiovascular disease, cancer, and COPD in this vagus nerve article, and we're fixing to have to take a break. But when we get back from the break, I've got 4 different articles. I think there's actually 5 different articles that relate to this same concept about how the subluxation is involved in this whole thing. How your nervous system involvement, the subluxation interferes with the whole brain stem and how the brain is firing and what's going on with the heart and how the brain is functioning from an overall standpoint and what's going on with the vagus nerve, which then what's happening with our whole sympathetic nervous system. So you guys stick around for a second. We'll be back just right after these messages. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC, and we'll be back and talk about this on the other side of the break. All right. Sorry. Sometimes we get sometimes we got a lot of tabs up. We got a lot of tabs open sometimes. And we're trying to figure all this stuff out. And it's not easy. It's not easy to understand all the connections that's going on together. It's we don't really get the idea of what this article is saying, that cardiovascular disease, cancer, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, share 3 important pathophysiological contributing factors: excessive sympathetic nerve activity. Excessive sympathetic nerve activity. And what is this drawing saying? This drawing is saying that we're getting, in this particular drawing, we are getting excessive right hemisphere sympathetic nervous system activity. And what goes along with that? All these other things that happen. Now because we've got this, we also have anxiety on the right side. We can also get depression because we've got that underactivity of the left side. It's there's a bunch of stuff, but what is this over here? This is sympathetic activity because we're firing. We've got this firing pattern coming over here to this right side, which is now kicking off that HPA axis, which now is leading to all of the things that are going along with this overactivity of that right side. We're going to get low testosterone out of all this whole thing. We're going to have acid reflux. We're going to have low T. We're going to have decreased immune function. There's a lot of stuff going on. Let me get us back on the radio. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We are breaking down the articles that we got. We were trying to talk about the vagus nerve last week, and we were trying to talk about sympathetic nervous system activity and how sympathetic nervous system activity. I had a lady today who's got some bad news about her daughter, and while she was in the office, she's like, "And my hip is killing me, and my thumb over here is killing me." And I'm like, "Yep, I know it." Those 2 things fit hand in hand. getting bad news about your daughter sets off your sympathetic nervous system activity, which heightens your sense of awareness, which heightens the sensory system of the body, which causes our sensory system to hyper fire, which now causes us to be more in pain. We will get more in pain when we're in this particular set of circumstances, right? So there's just so many things. There's so many things that could be going on in a person's life that um, it's this mechanism can be going on in your life, and then your blood sugar gets high, and then you go to your medical doctor and your A1C is 6 point something or 7 point something, and they say, I think what you need is metformin. It's like, okay, would someone break that down for those guys? That's what we're doing on the show. Send them to the show. I'll break it down for them. Like, look here, dude. Their A1C is high because their sugar's high, and their sugar's high because their left hemisphere is not functioning, and their left hemisphere is not functioning because their right hemisphere is overfunctioning, and their right hemisphere is overfunctioning because they're in a stressed out environment and they're not eat well, move well, and think well. They're not doing those simple things, which is causing the whole malfunction of the thing in the first place. Right? Because if you're in an environment that's congruent with health, your body will express health. And I want to take a minute and I want to just go off of this, because at the end of these articles, Dr. Murphy does a great job. He'll give you, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different articles right here that gives you the comments about the last thing that he said on the deal. It says, these authors propose to routinely implement measurement of heart rate variability to predict such global health disorders or whatever in populations, and to test in randomized controlled trials effects of non-invasive vagal nerve activation or prevention and treatment of these problems, reflecting possible neuromodulation of health. Yes, we can make a difference in the world if we can decrease sympathetic nervous system activity firing. That is the whole gist of that entire article. We can change the outcome of the world if we could decrease sympathetic nervous system firing. It's threatening to the human body to drink carbonated water. It's threatening to you. That's threatening, means it's firing the sympathetic nervous system. It's threatening to you to eat refined carbohydrates. It fires the sympathetic nervous system. It's threatening to you to get in a fight with your wife. It fires the sympathetic nervous system. Those things lead to cancer and cardiovascular disease and COPD. Those are things that lead to it. So Dr. Murphy does a great job of giving us information. And one of the articles, the review that he got right here, this is, so I just want to tie in to the chiropractic part of the vagus nerve stimulation problem, that we have too much of it. That's what I'm trying to do with the show tonight, is I want to tie in with those two things right there. So this is heart rate variability to assess the changes in autonomic nervous system function associated with vertebral subluxation. This is in research and reviews. This is research and reviews in neuroscience, September 2017, volume 1, number 3. This study is based on literature search from 2000 to 2017. The study cites 89 references. And it gives us some of that same information about what heart rate variability is, and we talked about that last week. It may be used to evaluate the balance between the sympathetic and parasympathetic divisions of the autonomic nervous system. Variability in heart rate reflects the vagal and sympathetic functions of the autonomic nervous system. Variability in your heart rate variability reflects the vagal and sympathetic functions of the autonomic nervous system and has been used as monitoring tool in clinical conditions characterized by altered autonomic nervous system activity, meaning your autonomic nervous system is your fight or flight response and your rest and recover response. How is your body constantly responding to its environment? Not the somatic nervous system, which is muscle contraction, brain to muscle boom contraction. That's a different system. It's a different part of the nervous system that's firing when the brain is firing to the muscle versus when the brain is trying to increase your stomach acid or decrease your stomach acid, or when your brain is trying to slow down your heart rate or speed up your heart rate, or increase your blood pressure or decrease your blood pressure. So the autonomic nervous system is smooth muscles, organs, and glands. Variability in heart rate reflects this and is used to monitor this. And analysis of beat to beat variability is a simple, non invasive technique to evaluate the autonomic dysfunction. Chiropractic subluxations are changes in the position or motion of a vertebra which may alter autonomic nervous system activity. I'm going to read that part again. Chiropractic subluxations are changes in the position or motion of a vertebra which may alter autonomic nervous system activity. Now, there also that's a very specific one, a specific definition talking about a subluxation as it relates to a spinal vertebra. Okay? As you progress through chiropractic and you understand a little bit about how it functions and you understand what's going on in the body, you start to understand the subluxation is not always 100% related to the vertebra. The subluxation can be in the ankle. The subluxation can also be in the brain. We can have disruption. Now it's hard to separate. It's really hard to pull those things apart because you're going to have some sort of tie back to the nervous system, back to the spine in some form or fashion, usually. But or you're going to have a secondary issue with the spine. But let's just go along with the article right here. Chiropractic subluxations are changes in the position or motion of a vertebra, the vertebrae in your neck, the vertebrae in your middle back, the vertebrae in your low back, any of those that aren't functioning properly, they're not going through the proper range of motion, or they're in the wrong position, which may alter autonomic nervous system activity, which, let me say that a different way, which may, instead of saying which may alter autonomic nervous system, you could say which may increase sympathetic nervous system. And now all of a sudden, if that can be tied together, if you can make that argument that it may increase sympathetic nervous system firing, then you can tie it back into the vagus nerve article that says it may contribute to cardiovascular disease, chronic pulmonary disease, COPD, or cancer. There you go. Now that all of a sudden, the way your neck moves becomes very crucial to your overall health. Now, the way your spine moves becomes very crucial to whether or not you may be contributing to your cancer, whether or not you're contributing to your heart disease, whether or not you're contributing to lots of problems that are a result of overstimulation of the sympathetic nervous system. It's threatening to the brain to not have a spine that's moving properly because the brain is receiving 3 trillion bits of information per second from the spine into the brain. If you think about it for a second, your brain doesn't have eyeballs inside its head. So your brain can't see what's going on inside your body with eyeballs. Your eyeballs are looking out on the outside of your body. But your nervous system is it's sending electrical impulses through your nerves into your brain, and your spine, your vertebrae, based on their position and movement, are sending impulses into your brain. If those vertebrae are not in the right position, or they're not moving through the proper range of motion, and the brain is not receiving that piece of information properly, that can set off sympathetic alarm. That can set off an alarm mechanism in the brain, because the brain is now uneasy because it's not receiving the information that it needs to be getting from the spine. I hope that makes a little bit of sense, maybe just a little bit. Heart rate variability is a reliable and valid tool that may be used to assess the changes in autonomic activity associated with the reduction and correction of the chiropractic subluxation. That right there is something that you could measure. You could do a heart rate variability study on someone, get them adjusted, do another heart rate variability study on someone, see what the difference is. Because the correction of the vertebral subluxation can alter the sympathetic and parasympathetic activity, which is measured in certain ways by heart rate variability. Alterations in heart rate variability have been observed in a variety of clinical conditions, including, here we go, diabetic neuropathy, predictions of the risk of arrhythmia following myocardial infarction, exercise physiology, anorexia nervosa, brain infarction, angina, panic disorders, assessing overall fitness, assessing work stress. Alterations in heart rate variability have been observed in a variety of all of those conditions. Smoking and a sedentary lifestyle reduces vagal parasympathetic tone. Okay, what does that mean? Let me keep going. Smoking in a sedentary lifestyle reduces vagal parasympathetic tone, whereas enhanced aerobic fitness increases vagal parasympathetic tone. All right, your parasympathetic nervous system is the part of your nervous system that is your rest and recover nervous system. That is what fires whenever you are not feeling a threat. That is what is predominantly the initial stages of the left hemisphere of the brain. The right hemisphere is adrenaline, which fires the sympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system fires the adrenaline. And the left hemisphere is the parasympathetic or rest and recover portion of your brain. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have all aspects of your brain on functioning. Don't get me wrong on that. I'm saying that that's one of the things that's happening over there. Is that parasympathetic activity is the rest and recover. And that's the part that you need in order to rest and recover. You need to be able to sleep. You need to be able to recover from the day. You need to be able to digest your food. You need to be able to reproduce. That all of that stuff, you need to have an immune system. That's parasympathetic activity. So smoking and sedentary lifestyle reduces vagal parasympathetic tone. It decreases your rest and recover tone. Those type of activities, sedentary lifestyle, decreases your rest and recover tone. So it's harder for you to rest and recover because that part of your nervous system isn't working as well as it should. Enhanced aerobic fitness increases vagal parasympathetic tone. The better fitness you have, the better chance you have of getting into parasympathetic activity. The less chemical stresses you have. Remember, we go back in our chiropractic world, we go back to physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. Physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. Those are the causes of the subluxation, which are contributing factors to abnormal autonomic nervous system function, which are contributing factors to cardiovascular disease, cancer, and COPD, according to our other article, right? So physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. All that alcohol that was at that reception the other night is chemical stress to the liver. Why do you get cirrhosis of the liver if you drink too much alcohol? Why would it affect your liver? How come we don't say we get cirrhosis of the spleen? How come we don't say we get cirrhosis of the lung when we drink too much alcohol? How come we don't ever talk about cirrhosis of the heart when we drink too much alcohol? We talk about the liver. Okay, what is the liver? The liver is the filtering system of the body. Everything that goes into the body goes through the liver so that the liver can detoxify the body. The liver can get rid of the toxins that are in the body. So why would alcohol be so hard on the liver? Because alcohol is toxic. It's a chemical stress. And what is a chemical stress going to do? It's going to fire the sympathetic nervous system. A chemical stress is going to fire the sympathetic nervous system. What did I read? Yes, I read yesterday, and I don't even know if this is a true fact. And because how do you know anything is true anymore? Let me see. Let me see if I can just look it up. Um, According to, I'll just read this. According to the 2024 cancer, this is coming from, according to the 2024 Cancer Iowa report, Iowa has the second highest cancer rate in the United States and the fastest growing rate of new cancers. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's exactly right, but yeah, followed by Iowa. This comes from usafacts.org. I don't know. I'll just point it out to you right there. Kentucky's number one, Iowa's number two. Why is Iowa number two? Because they're the number one producers in glyphosate. They've got more Roundup than anywhere else in the United States. They've got more farms that are growing more corn, that are feeding more pigs. They got all that stuff going on. They got increased cancer rates. Because why? Because let's just talk about it from. Am I hating on Iowa farmers? Absolutely not. Do I wish those guys would listen to the show and get mad at me and say, Jason, what the hell are you talking about? And yes, I wish they would, because I might help maybe somebody in their family not die from cancer if they would just understand that chemical stress fires sympathetic nervous system activity, which increases cancer. That's what the article says. I didn't make it up. I'm not that dadgum smart. That it comes from. The vagus nerve can predict and possibly modulate non-communicable chronic diseases from the Journal of Clinical Medicine. This is from dudes from University of France, University of Brussels, and the medical school at Ohio State University. I didn't make up the article. I'm just sharing the article with you that says that increased sympathetic activity is one of the things. It says it right here in the article. It's one of the pathophysiological contributing factors is excessive sympathetic nervous system activity. Sympathetic nerve activity. It's an important point. It says it right there in the article. So what causes increased sympathetic activity? Physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. What's chemical stress? It's the crap that we're spraying, the chemicals that we're spraying all over our food that's getting on those guys, which now the chemical stress is firing the sympathetic nervous system, which is increasing the cancer rates. You see how that works? Anytime we increase the toxicity. So what are those people doing at that reception? They were being social. They were having a great time. They were being with their friends while they were increasing their sympathetic nervous system firing rate and increasing their possibilities of having cancer. Did they care about the cancer at the reception? Absolutely not. Because you know why? They were taught their whole entire lives to that moderation. Hey, it's all right, man. It's all in moderation. Just long, it's all good. That's why I'm saying it's a bunch of hogwash. It's not true, never has been true, never will be true, ever. In the history of human beings, will it ever be true? And then when they get the diagnosis of cancer, the whole world falls apart. when they did get the diagnosis of cancer, they will do anything. They will travel any distance and pay any price to try to get rid of their cancer. Or they got to get all their affairs in order so that they can leave their wife with something or their kids with something, and it freaking sucks, right? And that's not what we want. I'm not. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad or fired up about this. I'm just simply pointing out that how it fits together, how the physical, chemical, and mental, emotional stresses all fit together that cause us to have these problems. And what Dr. Kent was saying in this article is that there are some things that increase our parasympathetic activity, and there's some things that decrease our parasympathetic activity. Studies suggest that heart rate variability is useful in evaluating all kinds of stuff. Mortality, multiple sclerosis, eating behaviors, burnout, depression, chronic post-traumatic stress disorder, dementia. There's all kinds of stuff on here. Heart rate variability data may be collected using a couple different systems. Dr. Clint lists 4 neurological dysregulations associated with chiropractic subluxations that may influence the heart rate variability. Disafferentation, that's number 1. Spinal biomechanical dysfunction may result in altered nociception and or mechanoreception. Okay, spinal biomechanical dysfunction, abnormal movement of your spine, may result in altered pain sensation and joint receptor information into your brain. That's kind of a simple way of saying it. Disafferentation. It means the wrong signal. Remember the 3 trillion bits of information that are going into the nervous system? Those 3 trillion bits of information are considered afferent nerves. Afferent travels from the body into the brain. And so when it's traveling from the body into the brain, those afferent nerves, when you're subluxated, you have disafferentation. Dyskinesia, distortion or impairment of voluntary movement. Distortion or impairment of voluntary movement. I'm trying to pick up a pen and now all of a sudden I can't. I'm trying to move that way and it's not working. Dyskinesis, abnormal tonic muscle activity. This aberrant muscle activity may be evaluated using surface EMG machine. Abnormal tonic muscle activity, the tone of the body. The body should have a regular tone. There's a certain, I adjusted a guy today that I adjusted for the first time in 2019. And I told him in 2019, dude, I'm really worried about you because your tone is too tight. It's too tight. And today when he came in, and I don't ever see him. It's only the second time I've seen him this year. When he came in, his tone is much better. I don't know if he retired. I don't know what he did different in his life. I don't know if he started exercising more or what he did, but his tone is better. And that's exactly what I was talking about right there. And the last one is dysautonomia. The autonomic nervous system regulates the actions of organs, glands, and blood vessels. Sympathetic tone may be evaluated by measuring skin temperature differentials using paraspinal infrared thermography. So you can get some of this information that changes stuff. Your sympathetic nervous system can be dysregulated whenever and that's just the things that we're talking about from a subluxation standpoint. So I'm gonna keep this open for tomorrow. I've got 4 more articles that I'm going to talk about. So I think we can tie all this stuff in here, and by the time the week is over, I think we can have us a pretty good overall understanding of what's going on with our nervous system and the subluxation. So you guys have a great night. Thanks for listening. Share it if you want to. Tell your friends, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night at 6.